Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the Top Producing Zone podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Jen.
And I'm your co-host, Shane Carvalho.
Shane, I can't believe it's already the end of November. It's crazy how time flies. I feel like it has been a month since we kind of last talked and recorded a podcast. So how have you been, man?
I know some people get to go on vacation more often and longer than others. No, good for you. It's well deserved, obviously. I mean, especially for, your partner as well. I mean, her work shifts and her schedule, tremendous. But I am hanging in there. It's been a little overwhelming with launching, the construction division. We've been blessed with work and growing the crew, and one of my favorite parts of the industry obviously is transforming properties, and having a larger hand in that now once again is exciting. I'm just trying not to let it take too much of my time away from real estate, because it's easy to be on a job site and get carried away. And I mean, heck, I even jumped on a tractor here a couple of times this week, and that part's been good. But yeah, the year's gone by way too fast. We are coming into my favorite time of year, and I'm hoping that it's a joyous one. And I'm really looking forward to, the new year. Just ready to hit a hard reset and go bigger, better, stronger, faster, and all of it. How about you? How was that? How was the time away?
The time away was really good. I think it was necessary. It was needed. It was also informative, I think, because for me, it's like from a personality perspective. Shanne and I went on a vacation for about, close to 2.5 weeks. We hit up New York, Montreal, Chicago. It's interesting because I realized that with my personality, I feel like I can only go on vacation for like a week at a time, because literally after like 8 days, I enjoyed the company. I love hanging out with Anna and our friends that we met up with in New York. But after like 8 days, I started feeling like antsy. I feel like I was just like slacking and I wasn't doing enough. And like right around that time was probably when I jumped online and actually we did a meeting where we were prospecting a little bit, and I was talking to Tara and I was getting my VA set up on work. And that actually made me feel more accomplished. And I was like, okay, now I can kind of enjoy the rest of my vacation. So from a professional perspective, I think that was very enlightening for me. From my personal perspective, it's funny, Anna and I were talking, and after we came back from vacation, I think we were both like, oh, we didn't really get sick of each other. So, that's a good sign, I think. After dating for close, 3 years and, going on a vacation for like 16, 18 days and not being sick of each other, I think,
I was going to say, I'm sure that she was not missing work.
Definitely not.
I remember early in my career when I used to wear suits and in sales and mortgage and everything, on my days off, I would still get dressed. It was weird. I had such a hard time, and I didn't know what to do with myself when I wasn't working. I didn't know how to just relax. I think I've gotten better about that. It's interesting that you would get antsy after a week because, with your career and the way things go, I guess for me, since it's so much dependent on just me for to drive, obviously the business runs without me, but being the main driver of the business, I could see having that fear. But for you, obviously with, one of your ventures, it's like you earned it, and then you can leave other people in charge, and you shouldn't lose any production or any.
We don't, but I think before I was leaving, with my corporate job, we were, there were some big meetings coming up, and I was trying to prep folks on that. And so I think that's the part that was driving me a little bit antsy, because I was like, oh, how did it go? I'm not there. I can't answer last minute questions. It's like my role on the team is one where it's like, I'm kind of like the backbone of connecting different dots together and really doing a lot of the executive level business. And so there's a part of me that's just like, oh, I hope it went well. I hope it went well. And then they did. But I think that was, with one of my ventures, what was kind of causing me a little bit of anxiety. And then on the real estate side, what was causing me anxiety was, we recently brought on some new agents, and they're always they're gung-ho about stuff. And I think that was the other part that was making me feel antsy, was I know they're obviously they're very capable, more than capable of doing their own thing. But then I also just wanted to make sure I checked in with them just to see how they were doing, and, wanting to see how I could support them, because, we've talked about, within our brokerage, there are people who just sponsor people into the company and then kind of leave them, let them be, right? And they're off to their own devices. But one of the great things about, our group, our organization, we may not always have everything set up correctly or have all the right answers, but we're always willing to be there to support the agents that we bring in. And I think that's just something that's set apart. And that's something that, I wanted to make sure I continued, even though I was on vacation.
Well, yeah. And you're good about that. You're good about being very systematized and organized and able to touch all those points. I'm not engineering, but, my background is not engineering. It's more sales people. And being a people person, salesperson, you kind of you get caught up on, the social side or what's hot or what's going on, versus knowing how to remove yourself to honor your schedule I'm guilty of sometimes not. So that's a great trait to have. And that's why I always tell you you're way more efficient than I am.
I think this is why the partnership works well, right? Like you are very good at conversing and talking with people, and I'm very good about keeping things organized as best as I can.
Probably annoy you sometimes because I'm late.
I'll say the one thing I appreciate, like, I mean, you and I have talked about this offline, but, I'm really, really excited about the growth that we're seeing in our organization, on our teams, like the agents that we're bringing in right now, because, they are very excited. They are very, gung ho. And I think I really appreciate that. It's one of those things where I always say, like, with my agents, like, I'm going to follow up with you on a periodic basis, right? But it can't just always be on me. You have to be proactive about reaching out too. And I think that's one of the things I appreciate about, especially a lot of the recent agents that we brought on, is like, they're not afraid to like raise their hand. And even if it's something that might seem like simple, they're not afraid to raise their hand and just be like, hey, like, what do you think about this? Or like, do you have an easy solution for this? Because like oftentimes if you don't ask the question, you're never going to know the answer. And you could potentially be like spending time on something that you don't have to be because somebody else already figured it out. And so that's one of the things I appreciate about some of the new, especially about a lot of the new agents that we've brought in, is they're focused, they're motivated, but they're also willing to ask questions. And I think that's really an important part of just building a really effective like group of agents and network of agents that we can kind of work well with together.
A big part of it is that, we're very optimistic and, moving forward with the business. And because we don't just sit back and listen to the news and kick rocks, that's a contagious energy for those that want to adapt. And just because of the statistics and numbers, I mean, right, like 10% or, 10% make it in the business for the most part. So even within our organization, we can't control, there's going to be those people that stepped away or aren't, as active. But, what I like is that the bulk of people that are, because of how our mindset is and how we are, it keeps them super motivated and inspired. Because, I mean, you know how it is, because you've probably been this person before, but you've probably come into like one of your even meetings at work or whatever, where it's like you're all fired up and everybody's glum. And it's like they kill your vibe, man. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to, so that's why it's like the reverse with us. It's like you come in energetic and, we're firing you up.
Yeah, no, I think that is really key. Like you are the top, like what, 3-5 people that
you're the average of the top 5 people you spend time with.
Exactly. It's true though, right? It's, like when you're in meetings, like you do, no matter who we are as people, like we tend to feed off the energy of the people around us, right? And like, that's one of the things I've been loving about, even the masterminds that we put on. I think we've gotten a lot better about just bringing that energy, bringing the right people, the right topics, to really get better engagement and help the agents in our group. And, to your point, like we can't control what they go do with it, right? We can't control, but, if we can at least help provide that environment for them, hopefully that's something that they can use for their business.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, and I've gotten obviously way better at not, because I would care too much and try to drag every single person along. I mean, I've gotten better about putting energy where people are putting in the energy. Like I've gotten a lot better about that. And, you just have to realize that, people have to want it for themselves. You can't help people that don't want to help themselves,
Yep. So I want to kind of go back to your construction business a little bit. I think it's great that you're kind of kicking that part of the business off for yourself. I know like you kind of grew up in that environment. That's kind of been your background for your construction company. So why don't you share that with our listeners?
Solid Oak Construction Company. It has a nice ring, and, I've ran it by a couple of people and it just seems to resonate. Even my partner was like, yeah, I love that. And when you can get someone as objective as her to like buy in, it was like that kind of sealed the deal. But, the oak tree's been very iconic in my business and, just the story and everything. And it's recognizable, especially in our area. And so it's interesting because a lot of these initial projects, have been local. And it's interesting because a lot of people recognize it. And so, no, I'm glad you like it. I'm stoked that there's been so much feedback. I can't wait to get the swag and get the name and everything out there. We've been so busy that we really haven't put out the social media platforms yet or even, finalized the DBA. Like I have the DBA, I have the domains, but we just haven't even had a chance yet,
And one thing I think is really cool, I think you and I talked about this briefly offline, but, when we interviewed Michael Valdez, he talked about, setting anchor and using those anchor points to kind of continue to grow the business. And I think the fact that you're leveraging your background in general construction is pretty smart and like pretty like very strategically brilliant. If you think about it, it's like, what are you going in and do? You're helping these people with different projects they want to do, like whether it's renovating or something else, but you are establishing that relationship, you're establishing that. And then down the road, when they have like potential real estate needs, who might be the first person they look to? I mean, it's going to be the person that they've already worked with and built a relationship with.
Yeah, and see, and I was missing because I was trying to figure out since I really haven't been social enough or been out there enough. I mean, honestly, since, a lot of it was just my personal health issues the last couple of years, but it's, since COVID, like I really haven't been as out there. And it's interesting because I was like, how do I kind of get myself out there locally? And, and how can it has to be something you enjoy doing in order to get out there. But honestly, there's a lot of factors. I mean, you and I had some bad experiences with a couple of contractors last year. So that really sealed the deal on we just got to have it in-house. The other thing, too, is with how busy contractors are and just the way things are now hard to get. Like, you really it came out of necessity to make sure that we can get our listings on the market in a timely manner. And you're right. I mean, building the relationships and just one more way to be in front of people. It's interesting, too, because it's like, now we have neighbors loving our project, and now we're working on neighbors' houses. We are meeting people, networking, and, obviously they know me as a real estate broker and a general contractor. So it's like, yeah, you're right. I mean, I see this as potential to, establish even more business.
Well, and the other thing I was gonna ask is like, let's get practical and tactical for people that are out there, and they, maybe, I mean, maybe you're thinking like, I'm interested in renovating my kitchen or my bathroom, like. What do you think people should look for when they're trying to assess or judge like what makes for a good general contractor? How do they know like they can, what are some things they should look for to make sure they can trust like, hey, you're going to do a solid job for them?
Well, I think a good place to start is check their license online. No, I mean, that sounds like whatever, but I'm serious. Like, it's because, I mean, contractors are one of those things where, especially with how expensive construction is, I mean, you give the wrong guy a deposit, he's gone. But I think that, checking their licensing, I think basically checking for referrals, references, do they have a website? Do they have any past projects they could show you? Maybe talk to a couple recent clients, just see what their experience was like. One thing that you really have to determine too is, and this about me, like I'm not outside with my people just showing up. Like I'm always the face, but I'm actually engaged. Like, yeah, it is my construction or it is my real estate or whatever. The team all has their roles. So make sure it's not one of these contractors that you get the face and then you just have some crew, right? Get some crew on the job and then he's hardly there. You can't reach him, whatever. So I think having someone that's super engaged is important. I think the other thing too is that, if you get 2 or 3 bids, like don't take the cheapest one. Really evaluate them for who they are, what they are. I mean, if you're doing something major, it's probably a house that you want to stay in, although most of the time people remodel and end up selling. You want to get something quality. I mean, like I have a client right now who's been saving up for this remodel for years, and she wants to go big. She spent almost $100,000 just on her appliances. She's a fabulous chef. She spent almost $100,000 on her appliances. She already has them there. She spent like $40,000 on her cabinets. She spent, like what, $10,000 on her quartz slabs or quartzite slabs, and we're coming in to kind of orchestrate everything and do, a lot of the rest of the rehab and remodel. And she wants to do like a fireplace and wants to do like we're going to basically come in and do all the construction stuff and bring in the electrician and the plumber as well. She's been saving for a long time, but I mean, based on those numbers, I mean, she's going to spend like a couple $100,000. Why would you take the 170 guy over the 195 guy? Like if you saved and you're looking to do a project like at this magnitude, like you can't go qualify someone on price. You really got to qualify on these other factors. So, I mean, I think to be tactical, I mean, those are the steps that I would take. And then also just like in real estate, make sure it's a personality match, because even if they're perfect in so many ways, well, oh, they did my friends and they did my other neighbor's house and they're so awesome. Well, yeah, maybe they are, but if you guys just can't get along, then
yeah, and depending on the project and the value, you could end up frustrating yourself a lot more throughout that process, which is not worth, potentially even what you're saving.
The other thing too is that just because you did find someone that did a really great job, if you can't see eye to eye, then that's going to create problems, and so there's got to be somebody else out there that's a better match that could probably do a great job as well. I think that just like some people only buy one house in their life, it's like, I think that like working with a contractor on a major project, I think that's something a lot of people don't have a lot of experience with either, so that's probably good to ask those kind of questions. I basically think that, now having the ability to do this much in-house, I think it's going to open the door for a lot more potential like investment projects that come along. Because now like the quality control, the time control, budget, like, we're going to be all set for that.
You're kind of, in a way, like refining, well, you are kind of just optimizing and refining like how your teams work together, which is great, right? So then when you are met with like an investment project, like what's one of the most important things with that is you really have to have a plan. You have to execute. You have to execute it quickly, in order to be able to see your return. Like we learned that the hard way on our past investment projects, right? So I think this is going to be great. It's like your teams already know how to work together. They know like what it is you expect. And so once you do get your next flips, like, they should be able to handle them a lot more seamlessly than, other teams that we've used in the past.
I think that, when I look back at my projects and the ones I've been successful on, and, obviously you don't always win. We win most of the time, but we don't always win. And if I look back, using my own team or my own group, I've never lost. So, but in trying to scale, we had to go out, but now like we're actually in position with our construction crew and we're scaling that. We're 6 strong right now, which we could do a lot. But, the goal here for 24 is to be at least 10 strong. And, we'll be able to turn this stuff fast. We've also got a really good electrician finally, because we needed our great electrician converted to commercial. And we just didn't have, a good electrician anymore in house. We had this guy, Pat, who actually moved from Canada and got licensed here. And he's awesome. My love for the Canadians, in our business. So yeah, shout out to all my Canadians. But yeah, I really am enjoying working with him. He's great. And then, Frank, my other contractor we worked with for years, my buddy Frank, 20 years now, he turned me on to his plumber a while back, and that guy rocks. And so when you have your general construction crew and team, that's great, but you still need to have your other subcontractors that handle the things you don't. And so it's nice that we have a really good electrician, a really good plumber, because those were, 2 holes we had. I'm excited about that as well.
That's awesome, man. So bigger, faster, stronger in this next year. I think that's going to be great.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we got some lofty goals. And yeah, in fact, I better speed up here. First quarter is going to crush me.
We'll have to do an episode soon on just building momentum and like setting goals for the new year, and really utilizing kind of the rest of this year to start doing that. It is kind of interesting because I'm trying to do the same thing on like from an agent like attraction perspective. Like I've been getting my VA, my virtual assistant, like will probably be listening to this as she's editing this podcast. But one of the things that we've been trying to do is, just get much more standardized in terms of the type of work that she's already been doing with me. And then that way, like once we standardize it, like it makes it a lot more easier to grow and scale as more agents join our team, which I think is super important because, what are the things that agents are looking for when they join a new team is like, well, how do you help me grow my business? How do you help me with my marketing? How do you help me generate leads? And so that's one thing I'm actually really excited to start growing out even more like through the end of this year, heading into next year.
Yeah, no, I'm excited that you have such a great VA, and I'm excited for, how she's helping us as well. I'm so impressed because I hadn't had the best luck, when I tried to go in that route. I'm so impressed that your first hire has been so great.
I've been very blessed too. Cause I've heard horror stories also, so can't complain. And so far it's been just a great working relationship, and we'll see, I'm excited to see how it continues to grow.
No, me too. And looking to benefit obviously from her as well.
Yeah, there's a plug. Well, I guess the last thing, you and I are big football fans, so we're in the midst of football season. So we can't do a catch-up episode without talking a little bit about football. A big game coming up this weekend for our Niners.
Oh my gosh. It's just, today, oh man, now I'm going to have to share it.
We don't know when this episode is going to be posted yet. Hopefully before the game happens. But the Niners are playing the Eagles this weekend in Philadelphia. It's going to be a huge game. Eagles are 10-1. Niners are 8-3, I believe. So definitely hoping for a Niners victory so that we can have a shot at the number 1 seed in the NFC still. I'm gonna give the trolls out there some ammunition, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you for what you think the prediction of the game is gonna be this Sunday. And I will give my answer.
Okay, we'll do that before I quote this, but there's going to be a lot of emotion out there for multiple reasons, right? Now, Philadelphia has their record does not reflect their skill this year. They have not played their best ball yet, and they'll admit that. They're going to have a hard time with the Niners defense. Like, we're missing Hafenga, which is a bummer because he's badass, but it's like, our defense is still, it's incredible, and they're going to struggle. Like, they've been struggling against good defenses. And so I honestly don't think they're going to score more than 14
wow.
points.
All right. That's a big, bold prediction. Okay.
And the 49ers, I mean, they've been, not huge on running up to score. If I had to put it out there, I see something like 30-14.
Okay. I agree with you on the defensive side. It was, especially with the Niners defense, the way they've been playing the last 3 games. It was interesting because I was looking at some advanced stats. It was a comparison of like the 49ers pass rush rate over the last 3 games. Because they went 5-0, lost the next 3, and then won the most recent 3. And it was showing pass rush rates for those 3 segments. And over the last 3 games, our pass rush win rates and pass rush scores have been higher than the 2019 team, which was that defense was just lights out with DeForest Buckner, with Bosa, with D Ford, fully healthy. Like, we just freaking ran over offensive lines. And over the last 3 games, our pass rush has been better than that team, which is crazy to think about.
So what about the tush push? Are the Eagles going to are we going to shut them down on like nobody else has been able to on the 1-yarders?
I mean, I think overall it's hard to shut them out every single time. But I think in this game, we're going to get 1 stop on that tush put.
That'd be huge. Well, here, you want some, well, tell me your score prediction first, then I'm going to share something with you.
Okay. I think for me, I think I mean, supposedly it's going to rain. For me, I would love to see all the haters shut the hell up about Brock Purdy and how he can't play from behind. So I think the Eagles get out to a 1-score lead at some point in the game
with another bad call.
Yeah, because the refs don't ever seem to make a call against the Eagles in Philadelphia. But I think ultimately Purdy leads us back. We win 28-21.
Oh, so you're gonna have me sweating. Yep. All right. Here's what Hassan Reddick had to say about facing San Francisco.
In that quote,
did you already see this today?
Yeah. But you read it anyways.
So Hassan Reddick, right, an Eagle, said about facing San Francisco, talk is cheap. They get to come back in the link. It was a lot of boo-hoos last year, a lot of crying, a lot of what if, a lot of this, a lot of that. They get a chance to come back in here, line that shit up, and prove it again.
I mean, we will.
I mean, bro, no quarterback in the NFL. What team can play without a quarterback? I mean, they changed the rule because of that game. And that first bad call, I can't believe they didn't even review that. Like, we should have thrown the challenge flag on that horrible not a catch. I mean, that kind of set the tone for the game right off the bat. So, I mean, I really, I don't know. And here, one more thing to say about the link is so I have friends that are even in real estate and stuff in Philadelphia, and, other friends that I've even gone to a wedding in Philadelphia before. I mean, I do have people I know, and it's a great place, right? But their fans are horrific. Like, their behavior, especially in that playoff game, disgusting. Like, did you see how fun it was to see all the Niners on the street in Seattle last week?
Yeah,
when we crushed the Seahawks. I would love to see that in Philadelphia, and it would be well deserved. They were they were spitting on people and just doing just disgusting. Like, they were just, it's a game. Like, you can be a fan without being like that. Like, it's just nasty. Like, I hope that we do, well, not I hope, we will. I can't wait to see that victory. I'm putting money on that victory.
The Niners players even this week have been purposely quiet, which I think is good. It's just like, hey, we're not going to talk anymore.
We talk with our pads. That's what our coach always used to tell us. We talk with our pads.
I think it's going to be a fun Sunday. Probably going to be a little nerve wracking from my blood pressure, but I always get like that during any game. But I think we're going to win it.
Yeah, well, I don't. My blood pressure's been a little high the last couple of days. I got to keep that down. They better just hurry up and be out in big lead, so I'm not even worried about it.
All right. Well, we're going to end on that and give the trolls something to have fun with.
I can't wait to see what they light up on Instagram. That was funny last time.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning into this week's catch-up episode of the Top Producing Zone podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
See you soon.